My name's Rob. I'm a train driver for London North Eastern Railways, and I've been driving trains for 22 years. I'm based at Leeds. But I've always been interested in fast things, transport, and I've ended up as a train driver. Yeah, earlier this year, a man ended his life by jumping in front of the train that I was driving. I'd seen him waiting on the platform, and seeing people on platforms is nothing out of the ordinary. We see it every day, pretty much everywhere that we go. And I thought he was going to be waiting for the train that was behind me, which was a stopping service. He was the only person on the platform, and it's something I never want to experience again. Now, at the time my training kicked in, which I was quite surprised about looking at it retrospectively. There was a phone call that I had to make immediately to the signaller. I was aware that another train had gone the other way, so there were no trains due, and I was able to give the signaller my exact location and a description of what had happened. I was also able to ask them specifically for what emergency services that I needed and to get the line closed and to get all the help to my location. I was a little bit surprised actually that I was able to do that. The shock came a little bit later. Now, there were some aspects of the procedure that went really quite smoothly. The signaller was excellent, my train manager was excellent, and my crew were excellent. Now, I don't shut things down because I'm strong. I tend to close the door on things because I'm not strong enough. And I do have the personality flaw where it's hard for me to forgive, and I never forget things. So I was well aware that if I didn't do what I was doing at that point, this could be the end of my career. When I got home, I went to see my doctor, and he signed me off with a fit note for 6 weeks with a view to taking as long as I needed off afterwards. But I set that 6 weeks for myself as a healing period in my life, and I stayed at home. Now, one of the things that I was well aware of was that I needed counselling, and I'm a bit of an older guy now, and if I'd have been in my 20s or 30s, I may have been of the opinion that I can just get through this, I can be a man, business as usual, everything will be fine. And that's not the case. I wasn't okay, and counselling was offered to me, and I took it. And it was very no nonsense, and it wasn't condescending, and it was very good, and I learned a lot of things about not just the healing process, but also of things I needed to do to get myself better. And one of the important things was to not just lock myself away and sit in the house. Now, I'm really quite a sociable person, but it would be all too easy for me to make excuses to my friends, to my family, and not actually go out and do things and just sit at home listening to a ticking clock and not involving myself in life. So I really did make an effort to go to things. I was invited to a works party with one of my friends, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I went to a rugby match. One of my friends invited me along, and I went and spectated. And I'm really glad I did those things, because it would have been all too easy to say, no, I'm not coming. I've had this, I don't feel like it, but to get on with my life, I knew I needed to do things. During the time I was off, I spoke to the coroner a number of times, and the family of the man that had taken his life were really concerned about the train driver and my welfare. They didn't know me, they still don't know me, but they felt somehow responsible. And I'd said to the coroner, listen, I'll be okay. I'm getting the right help that I need. My management have been great, my company have been great, the counsellors have been great as well. During the 6 weeks that I'd taken off, after about 2 weeks, my sleep had started to get back to normal again, and I was seriously considering leaving the industry. I don't have children, I'm single, I'm divorced, I've got a small mortgage. There's only really my mum that's close family. There's nobody else really in my life. And I felt maybe this is a sign. Maybe I should just give up this train driving business and move abroad and do something halcyon or romantic, like riding motorbikes across a desert somewhere. And I thought about it, and it was a bit of a source of comfort for me. I was almost looking for an escape plan, which again isn't like me at all. But I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy driving trains. And I see it as a really important thing that I get people home safely on a night. I'm actually quite good at what I do. I've been doing it for a long time, and I don't want to brag about it, but my concern has always been about getting people home safely, getting people to loved ones, getting people home from work. And that's what I like doing. And this is my home as well. I see the railway as an extended family. I decided to get back on the trains. And so I'd also spoke to my manager about some sort of rehabilitation program, a return to work, if you like. And I pretty much self-managed that. I kept a diary of everything that I did. But even getting back onto a train, I had a dry mouth, my heart was racing, but I saw it as a flight of stairs getting back into driving. And one of the things that I did as soon as I came back was I went to visit the site where the man had jumped. And I took some flowers and I laid them down at the place where he'd been standing, and I waited for all the passengers to get off the platform, and I sat down and I said a prayer. Now, I'm not a particularly religious guy, but I think I'm fairly spiritual, and there always will be a connection between me and this person, and I felt like I needed to pay respect and honour him, and I don't know what on earth he went through to lead up to that, and I know I'll never meet him again, but I thought it was important that I paid respect. It felt incredibly peaceful, and it felt like it was the right thing to do. And I can't really explain that. It's not logical, but it felt like drawing a line underneath it. And the birds were singing, and the weather had changed. It was spring when I hit the guy, and it was summer now. So the world had moved on. As you can probably tell, I talk a lot, and I'm really very open. And some of my colleagues would say I talk for England. Some of them, I think, rush off and make excuses that they've got other things to do and other places to be. But I think talking is important. And I know this is a taboo in many ways. Suicide is a taboo, and also mental health issues are also a taboo. There's no shame in asking for help. And that if, somebody like me, some old dog, if I can ask for help, then there's no shame in it at all. You'd be pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of onus nowadays on mental health well-being, and there wasn't when I was younger. It was just a case of get on with it and keep going. And I still think a lot of people, especially guys of my generation, are worried about showing the vulnerabilities, but it really isn't like that anymore, and everybody's just the same. Coming back to work, I've been gradually riding around on trains. I've been just coming in and putting the uniform on was quite a big deal. It's a return to normality. Hearing the announcement on a train made my mouth dry. Just the association of I'm back on the train, I'm back on the machine where it happened was difficult. And I gradually went back in the driving cabs, and I sat next to drivers. I went back to the location. I started driving accompanied, and now, as of 3 weeks ago, I'm back solo, driving again. And one of the things that I insisted on doing was driving the same train on the same route at the same time that the guy jumped. And for me, that was the last step in the staircase getting back to normal. And now I'm back and I'm driving, but it's been very, very tough. And there have been times where I thought I wasn't strong enough to do it. And there's been times when I thought I would have quit, but I haven't. And everybody does get knocked down by life, but it's a case of whether you can get back up again or not. And that's the important thing. And it's been a combination of other people's help. And I'm eternally grateful to so many people who've helped. And people have helped in ways I wouldn't even consider. It's been interesting, and it's really been quite a journey. I'm different now. I see the world a little bit more cynically, and I hope that changes. I hope I go back to how I used to be. I'm really quite an open, friendly, jovial guy, and at the moment I'm not back there yet. Something else that happens nowadays is if I hear a sad song on the radio or see a sentimental film on the TV, I'll cry. And I've never done that throughout my life. That's never been me. And I don't know whether it's another side of me that's been opened up and I'll always be like that, or whether this is just part of the healing process. But the thing that I've learned with this is when you look in the mirror and you're suffering, the person looking back at you is your best friend. And that person is suffering. And you wouldn't just sit there and watch your best friend suffer. You would get help for them. And that's what you need to do. The man lost his life that night when he jumped in front of my train, and I lost a part of myself. What he did was a permanent solution to what was quite probably a temporary problem. And this has been hard for me to deal with. But if by talking today, it helps one person to just look at themselves and put their hand up and say they need help, and I save just one person, this is worthwhile.